Hello and welcome to Global Matters. On this program today, we'll bring you issues of international relevance to Africa and indeed to Nigeria. On the show today, we shall be reviewing the London engagement of the presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party, and the New Nigeria People's Party, including the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu. These candidates and the INEC chairman between Monday 9th and Wednesday 18th January were in London to speak about their vision and plan for Nigeria. The Royal Institute of International Affairs in London, otherwise known as the Chatham House, hosted these individuals except the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, who was in London on the invitation of the officials of the British government. I was also there in London with them, and I had some conversations with these candidates and their supporters on the relevance of the London meetings. And we'll bring you my conversation with them just after this break.
Thank you very much for this opportunity and open societies, which is democracy, governance. I think this is the motivation for virtually everybody here. That's why we are in politics today. And for me, the number indicates politics.
I know. Yeah.
And so we welcome this opportunity and we want to this understanding between and Nigeria. These are very strong traditional allies, and we believe the experiences of Britain, which has nurtured our country to independence and democracy, should be strengthened. We really look forward to a very, very strong support of our democratic institutions. And today, I think we have the longest period of democracy in Nigeria's history. And that is a remarkable progress, as far as democracy is concerned, Africa. We would like to see that strengthened and supported, particularly by Britain, which is our traditional ally. So we look forward to that. Of course, we have experts here who can engage you as far as that is concerned. Yes, I've got the experience, but I may not be an expert. So we appreciate this opportunity.
And the trip, what relevance will it be to your ambition in Nigeria? What value will it have to this democracy?
Well, I think it is a good visit in the sense that we exchange views with our, British friends on how Nigeria, can strengthen relationship with the British government, whichever party wins, which I think is a good.
What message do you have for Nigerians?
I will appeal to Nigerians to go out and vote and be peaceful about it.
Any trust in INEC? The
Yes.
Election?
Yes, I have trust in INEC.
Any message for them?
They should continue to do their work. They have done wonderfully well in the off-season elections in Ekiti, in Oshun, in Anambra. That was a credible process.
Do you have any concern around the credibility of the election in February?
So far, so good. The only thing is that we are opposed to, national institutions being blackmailed, to bend to the wishes, of the ruling party, like the INEC, like the central bank. They should be allowed to do their work.
Yes. Been very, very supportive of a stable and progressive kind of leadership. Imagine in our two chambers of the National Assembly, both the Senate and the House of Representatives. So he's an institution builder. He believes in the institution of democracy, and he believes in the human rights, and he believes in the rule of law. So it's part of the reason why all of us here, and essentially a number of us who have parliamentary background supported his candidacy.
It's going to guide this administration if it comes into power in May 2023. The document says on page 61, the Nigeria of our dream requires cosmopolitan politics and is an all-inclusive governance structure with the essential capacity to harness our diversities in a just and fair environment where the rights of all citizens are protected by a transparent government that is not just deliberate and purposeful, but conscious of its duty to the citizens and its role and prestige in global affairs. I think that pretty much speaks to what open society is all about. It pretty much also speaks to our commitment to democracy and to see that multilateralism continues to inform the ways in which we structure the government coming forward.
We are here in London to engage with the British officials on shared interests and values, and the trip so far has been successful in the sense that the candidate of our party has had engagement with the British officials, in fact about 8 separate meetings, and we touched on a wide range of issues from healthcare to insecurity to democratic governance to the rule of law. We looked at education. Virtually all of the concepts that are encapsulated in our manifesto. Why I think this trip is very crucial is because the United Kingdom is one of the very few countries that we have strong ties with, not just from the Commonwealth point of view, but even shared values. The United Kingdom is one place outside of Nigeria where you have the greater population of the Nigerian people. So the national interest of Nigeria also is the interest of the Nigerian citizen. One of the issues they raised in the conversation was that what would the disposition of Atiku be when he becomes the president if they have to, deport people, illegal immigrants here, and other immigrants who by virtue of one issue or the other are going to be sent back. And he made it clear that the national security is the national interest, the national interest is the interest of the citizens, and as a president he will face that headlong. But one important thing he drew the attention to, that when they think of bringing the bad guys, they should remember that we also have good guys here. There's an emerging concept in Nigeria they call the Japa. People who run out of the country. And most of the people who go out of Nigeria are well educated. In fact, some of them are professionals in specialized fields. We have seen how this, on the average, they said about 1,000 or so doctors. No, not 1,000, about 100 or so doctors leave Nigeria every month to most of them to the United Kingdom. So part of the determination of the campaign is to make sure the push factor that send them out of Nigeria, we correct it so they don't have to go, but they would rather remain. But he also called on the British government to also be a part and collaborate in the effort to keep Nigerians within Nigeria, to grow Nigeria. And that to me is key. Of course, in terms of intelligence sharing and national security, they raise concern about the West African border, where you look at Mali and some of these countries where the insurgents or terrorists are finding us hope. He said part of our foreign policy objective is to make sure that the sub-region is secured. And of course, national interest is when you can, I remember when George Bush said, we will either bring them to justice or we'll take justice to them. When Ebola broke out from the US, they talk about coming straight to Nigeria and Africa and deal with it, because we don't do that. In a globalized world, it will come to you. So Atiku said he's going to play an active role as a president to ensure that the hope in the sub-region is dealt with as far as insecurity is concerned. Of course, we talk about healthcare, malnutrition, emerging diseases, displaced persons in Nigeria, and all that. Almost every item in our manifesto, we took our time to discuss. And he rounded up by making a case to them that People's Democratic Party from 1999 to 2007 laid the foundation for institutions that are strengthening our democracy. If you look at ICPC, EFCC, pension, so many of those institutions that today have served as baseline were established by the People's Democratic Government. And no any other person is better suited and qualified as per the experience to deal with that than himself. So we made our case adequately well, and the Nigerian people in the United Kingdom are excited with the prospect of Atiku emerging as the president.
Did your candidate raise any concern about the credibility of the election and seeking the United Kingdom's support or intervention? And why would he do that, and what are his concerns?
He did that, especially when he laid out what he believed to be the push and pull factor, right? So the push factor are those things in Nigeria that push Nigerian people out of Nigeria. He said insecurity is one, but most importantly, he talked about democratic governance. Where people do not have confidence in the election and the electoral process, they will not vote. But then more than that, they will take laws into their hand because they don't have confidence in the state. And as a result, you find insecurity. And he called on the British government to collaborate with Nigerians in ensuring that we create that environment where the votes of the people will count, and which means that the United Kingdom, just like the commitment US made to us, that in the days leading to the election, they are going to reel out sanctions for individuals or institutions that will compromise the election. So they too are, establishing that commitment to ensure they will partner and ensure that there is a free and fair process. Of course, quite a number of things are of concern to us. When you look at insecurity in every part of Nigeria, INEC is saying that election might not hold unless there is a little bit of sanity in the system. When you hear about the ruling party trying to compromise INEC, threatening to sack INEC, threatening to sack, even with the restriction on money, the CBN restriction, they are trying to pressure the person to extend it or be sacked. We are quite concerned, and we drew the attention of the world to that. The good thing is that most of them, especially the nations we've engaged in, are making the commitment they will be a part of ensuring that 2023 presidential election is free and fair.
Your candidate has been in the United Kingdom in the last 2 days trying to engage with British officials. The questions Nigerians are asking, one, what value is this visit to his electoral victory in Nigeria? Second, what relevance is the visit to the situations in the country?
You see, everybody must understand that ab initio, Nigeria is part of the British Commonwealth, and we're a Commonwealth nation, and we whether we like it or not, we got independence from Britain, and the single largest block of Nigerians in the diaspora reside in the British Isles, to the extent that ministers of the British government are people of Nigerian descent. So we cannot wish away engaging the international community without engaging with the British government. Number two, this is an issue about someone who wants to take Nigeria and pull it back from the brink and recover the country, and you cannot do that by preaching some vain isolationism. So it was important that the British government and the larger European community understands the agenda and what Atiku Abubakar has for the Nigerian nation. So engaging the international community is part of the peddling diplomacy, and he has started it. Excuse me. And luckily, with the plethora of meetings, either with the parliamentarians or with the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, which is actually a trust of the British government for Africa, it has shown that Nigeria has a chance now to pull itself back from the brink. We cannot do this alone. We cannot do this alone. If not, we will have embassies and ambassadors all over the place. So Atiku Abubakar coming to the UK is actually as tangential as humanly permissible for those who can see both the sublime and above the line. So this is the most important visit.
There are people who have said he's trying to lobby the United Kingdom. There are people who have said probably the visit is to lobby the United Kingdom in his favor during the election.
No.
Does he have any?
No. That one is taking lies to a most incredible level. That is propaganda. You see, even the United States government, the United States candidates, they visit other countries because there are countries that are, I use the word tangential, that are primal to moving Nigeria forward. And whether we like it or not, Britain is one of it. Number two, in terms of FDI, in terms of foreign direct investment in the Nigerian nation, who is larger than people or governments of the British Isles? In terms of remittances back home, we are here in the center of London. We are the Carlton, for example, and all over the place. There is no way 10 black people will pass you by and 7 are not Nigerian or of Nigerian descent. So if you don't talk to Nigeria, the Nigerian diaspora are the single largest block influencers and opinion molders of people back home. So if you don't engage with them, if you don't engage with the environment that breeds them, how are you going to assure people outside of Nigeria that you mean well for Nigerians? So this visit is a visit that places Atiku on a higher pedestal, a shoulder above every other person.
You seem not to have some confidence in INEC unless President Buhari actually makes a serious determination not to meddle in that election. Are you concerned?
You see, I made that statement based on my personal experience. I told you, 1992, I was Deputy Speaker, House of Reps. And between then and now, I've been almost everywhere in Nigeria. I know from that experience that if President wants free and fair election, successful election, peaceful election, it can happen. But if he doesn't want, because anybody who is going to rig will normally rig in his name. Now this is what the villa wants. Sometimes villa mentions something, sometimes it doesn't say anything. But people around the villa, that's what we say President, and of course the presidential villa in Nigeria. These are two key groups. President himself as a person,
And the presidency.
and the presidency. These are two. And unless they accept to have free and fair election, it cannot happen. No matter what Professor Yakubu came to tell Chatham House yesterday, or anybody would say, because we have seen it in Kano in 2019, everybody came to Kano in the name of President Buhari. The INEC was bitterly against us. They knew we won election. The police, SSS, everybody was against us like a war. They had to take Kano. In fact, the spokesman there was saying that Kano was too important to be left in the hands of opposition. As if they own us, as if they own Kano. NPC doesn't own Kano, PDP doesn't own Kano, even NNPP doesn't own Kano. Kano should make their own position and decision on who or which party they want. And it must be respected by leaders. And unless they do that, we'll continue to have crisis. And that's what we are trying to avoid.
Are you saying INEC is not truly and really independent?
That's what, well, maybe you can look at it from that angle. It's not only INEC, even Fedeko, all the, what do you call them, the umpires, they mostly rely on government. That's the fact that we have seen it. I'm talking from my experience. Even as recent as 2019, even when Buhari himself won an election, because the president at that time agreed to do free and fair election. That's how he won. And that's why we are saying in NPP that Buhari must not forget how he came in, and he must not even forget his frustration when he had 3 attempts to become president. He had all the experiences, but you know, villa and some government house or houses in Nigeria, if you go there, it's like there is a virus. Anybody who inhales that virus, he becomes different completely. Otherwise, what is difficulty in making free and fair election? Especially he's going now. Even Yakubu, Professor Yakubu is going.
And these are people that I will meet in one occasion or the other. There were some of them who connived and cheated us. I'm sure they will not want to look at me now. They will not want to look at anybody from Kano. And some of them, I believe, are going to die with that thing or sin in their minds.
My last question, sir. You seem to, are you disappointed in how President Buhari's handling of the economy and security, having supported him and campaigned for him in 2015? Are you disappointed?
That's why I left APC now. I would have been there. I'm disappointed with PDP. I'm disappointed with APC. That's why we have New Nigeria People's Party, a party that will bring positive change to Nigerians. And it's not based on hearsay. You know, there are contestants who are noisemakers. It's hard and quoting figures, talking to the people. Most of them are empty things. Ours is based on solid and concrete experience that we had over the years. So, Buhari, we always say he has done his best. But I believe that to many Nigerians, that good best is not good enough. And that's why we are in this party to bring new change, new Nigeria for you, for me, for AIT, for all the channels and so on, so that we can have one solid country, not minding your ethnicity or your religion or your region. For me, it doesn't matter. Most of my friends are from some part of the country, and I love them. Most of them are Christians. What is the problem? That's why when I was doing my scholarship in Kano, everybody, including people from the south, southwest, southeast, were beneficiaries. We brought in peace. And that's why everybody in Kano, unless if he has one particular personal reason, is my supporter. Because they know me.
Why NNPP? Why not PDP? Why not other parties? Why NNPP?
In the first place, the PDP and the APC have cancelled themselves. They are not in this race by law because they call each other names and accuse each other of crimes. One, a looter, the second one, a drug baron, and they said all of them received conviction on these two issues. By Nigerian laws, you can't contest the election with those vices on your head. And even if they win, the courts can disqualify them. So we don't talk of APC, we don't talk of PDP. And of course, the job of being Nigerian president needs a 25-hour per day attention. None of them can have 10 minutes of solid attention on any issue. We all hope to reach a certain age in life. If you know there are certain things you cannot do, and you should not force yourself to do. If not in Nigeria, they shouldn't aspire. In fact, show their faces in public even, let alone contest for election. So, this is the best candidate. He's got diplomatic experience. He's got legislative experience. He's got executive experience. No candidate among all of them has such a record. He's the most experienced of all the candidates in Nigeria. Not only that, he's the most educated, where you can link up his school from primary school up to PhD in engineering. All of them have doubtful educational qualification. So where do you go? Above all, he has a record of performance, solid, that cannot be faltered by anybody in Nigeria. So if we are looking for the best, he is the best. If we are looking for his integrity, he's the only one with the integrity, unquestioned integrity. If we are looking for experience, he's the only one. If you are looking for record of performance, he's the only one. So I am even wondering how Nigerians are wasting their time following other candidates. anybody that votes for APC and PDP is an enemy of the people.
Do you think Kwakwanso can win this election?
I believe so, because like he has mentioned, he has been in this business for a very long time, and he has a network, and he has been going through the grassroots, talking to the people directly, and I believe we can spring a very good surprise.
All right, thank you. Those are some of the conversations we had with the candidates, presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party, who was the only one in that clip invited to London by the officials of the British government. Others, Rabi Kwakwanso was invited to speak at Chatham House, and of course Peter Obi was invited to speak at the Chatham House. We heard how their supporters gave kind of credence to their visits to London during that period, and I'm afraid this is how far we can go on the show today. We keep having people visiting London, but the question is, when will Nigerians in diaspora have the opportunity to also be part of the electoral process in Nigeria by casting their votes? Probably whoever wins will consider that option. My name is Tunde Labi. Sincere appreciation to all the team that's made today's program possible. Enjoy the rest of your day.